Hi there, lovely garden friends, and welcome to Sweden, south of Sweden. A lovely day in January 2021. This is my vegetable garden, Sara's kitchen garden, and I am Sara. This is how I look today. Hi there. I spent my day on the upper floor, second floor in the house in here, where I have my little home office. I am just finishing another manuscript for a book, and it's about 6 weeks or so until I'm going to leave it to the publisher. So it's a bit, I don't have the time. But it's a bit cold indoors, and I don't have a fireplace or so I'm a bit chill. So I said to myself that I have to go out and just do something. So I brought a pair of seed packages, and I wanted to just sow something very quickly and show you at the same time the garden, because something quite nice happened the other day. It was raining a whole lot, and until yesterday we had quite a lot of snow covering the whole garden. Hi Irene from Brazil. You don't have snow in your place, I guess. But my garden was all covered with snow, and we have had quite a few busy days or weeks. You know, when it snows, the kids want to go playing in the snow. So we've been skating and going by pulka, down the hills, etc. So we have been quite busy. No time for gardening, and it felt kind of good to do that. It's always nice, and everyone is very happy. But something happens as well when snow melts with me, because I am a gardener and I want to grow things, and it's like I see things in another way, of course, when the snow melts. I see the structure of the garden. Sledding, thank you, Janine. I see the structure of the garden, and it's very easy to visualize how things are going to be and what my plan is. So I will go over here, because here we have quite a nice view of the garden. It's still very cold. Not freezing, but still cold. And just a few minutes ago I spotted the sun, and you can see it behind the clouds, and it was so beautiful, this warm light shining on my garden. So this is my vegetable garden, and this area is about 350 square meters, and this is like the main kitchen garden. And then I have by now I have 3 greenhouses, and we are going to visit one of them later on, I think. And this area here is the best area in the vegetable garden, because it's quite sheltered. I have this fence of old branches, and I have this stone wall that protects from wind. Before this season, I didn't make a plan where I am growing this area in a specific way when it's kind of cold outside, because this is a garden in a cold climate, right? We live in Sweden. We have dark winters and we have cold winters. But I managed to grow quite a lot of vegetables. Anyhow, I am self-sufficient with the vegetables all through the year, from this garden and a few other places where I grow along with friends. So that is amazing. And as you can see, the beds here, it looks like spring. Yes, my Brit, it does. And you will see soon, I will show you a few signs. So you can see the beds are covered with mulch, and this is old like straw and hay. I also have the old plant materials here, and grass clippings, etc. But for this spring ahead, I did not plan to use this area for the earliest sowings, the winter sowings. So if I did plan to use these areas, the garden beds here, I would have like removed the mulch, so I have the soil, and then simply make sowings directly into the soil. I might do that today. Actually, we'll see how it looks like here, but we'll get to that later on. I do have one place here. This is a raised bed. We would call it like a odlingslåda in Swedish, but well, a raised bed. And I made a sowing in this bed, I think it was in December, from another live stream. I sowed the leafy greens, and now it's very interesting because you might think that this will happen in April or so, because we are very used to think that seeds germinate in spring and nothing else. But here I can actually see, and I must tell you now that we have recently just left a few weeks time with minus 13 degrees one night. So this area has been covered with snow. So here is spinach. Nothing in this row. But I saw a few other things. Here we can see. I guess this will be the pak choi or the rocket. A few things here. There's a row. It's very easy to spot the rows. Here are a few green things, but they don't come in this row. So I guess it's just like weeds. Here I spot, no, was nothing. So two things have already germinated. This looks like a spinach too. Might be a spinach. And here you see how good it is to make the winter sowings in rows, so that you can see that, all right, here is one thing. So it's not weeds. Yeah, this is really good. I am so happy about this. And one interesting thing is that I didn't use like a lid on top of this box. No fabric, no plastic lid or anything to keep the temperature in a good way in the box. And to be honest with you, it does not make any difference when it's like this cold. But it's growing and I get so happy about it. This is the mid area. My God, it's cold. Here I have garlic. There are no signs yet. Might be underneath here. Here you can see it's frozen. You see? On top it's not, but under the mulch it is frozen. Here it's like hard, it's still frozen. And this is what happens when you use like a deep mulch technique in the garden as well, because it sort of prevents the ground to heat up. And you could think that, well, that's not a good thing, but you can use this in different ways. As you can see, I have some beds without mulch, and I do have beds with mulch. And this is a bed that I prepared just before it got too cold. And in this bed, I can actually sow something right now if I want to. And what I do then is the winter sowings. Or are winter sowings. We will go down to my bigger greenhouse. And the reason why I can go there now is because I actually spent 2 hours the other day cleaning up. It was quite messy. One thing that was not too good was that I fell because it was very slippy on the ground when we had the snow, and I hurt my hand. But next project will be to clean up outside. This is such a nice place. So this is my polytunnel. I have two, and this is the big one. The width is 5 meters and the length is 9 meters. And I grow not in pots. I grow mainly directly into the ground, and this is the best way to garden, I think, in a greenhouse. Might be a good idea for some people to have pots as well, of course, but when you grow directly into the ground, it's very good because you, it's warmer in the ground than it is usually in the pots. And this is the bed I prepared with lots of sowings, leafy greens. Oh my God, you're really watching from a lot of places. Nice to see you stopping by. And this is so interesting because in this bed, I had a look the other day too. I don't see any sign of seeds germinating. No green spots whatsoever. On my website, I have a possibility in the Swedish website to ask me questions. I don't have enough time or colleagues yet to start that function at sarabackmo.com, but I hope I can manage to do that soon. And when I read the comments and the questions about growing vegetables in cold climate and to do like winter sowings, people very much want to know how I do the watering thing. You know, do I water the winter sowings? And the answer is no. I only water when I want the seeds to germinate. And the things that I sow now, for example, I have 3 packages here. It's spinach, variety Medania. I have the rocket. And I have a pak choi mix, color crunch blend, I think. This is actually very special. I have my own seeds collection in Sweden and the Nordic countries. And this mini pak choi color crunch is very fast growing. So I just love to grow that because the seeds germinate quite fast and they develop the small leaf greens that I can eat quite fast. And you know, the spinach is magic because spinach grows, germinates when it's only like 4 degrees Celsius in the ground. And that's why it's grown or germinated in the box over there. But to do that, it needs moisture in the soil. So if I don't want it to grow, I don't water. And that's the case with this bed. It's no idea for me to start this bed right now because probably it will like freeze and thaw a few times more until it's the best condition for the seeds to grow. But out in the main kitchen garden, I can't control that. They will just do whatever they want to. So that was what I wanted to show you. And in this section, I grow leafy greens, love leafy greens. I have 2 clamps over here where I store the root vegetables. I have parsley, a few lettuce plants, corn salad, and over here I made sowings of summer carrots, the early varieties, Nantes, for example, and dill. I already forgot what I sowed over there. I can see the cat crashed sowings over here with corn salad, and the green leaves over there are overwintering spinach. In February, I count on harvesting from those plants. And in the middle here, I have tulips. Not to eat, but I have them. And in this section, I'm growing like flower bulbs this year. And I'm very excited about that. I have not grown the tulips and lilies, etc. Before, and well, not this much. And I have never grown it before in a polytunnel, so I'm very excited about that. You asked me about fertilization and how I feed the soil, I think. I didn't have time to read the comment fully, but what I do in my greenhouse is that I prepare the ground before I shift the crop, right? So every time I harvest something and I'm ready to put a new vegetable in the ground or make a new sowing, I try to feed the soil by digging down bokashi compost, for example, or grass clippings, etc., etc. So I dig down things that turn to soil. But one of the best ways to feed my vegetable is actually by fertilizing with my own and the kids' urine, with my pee to be exact. I have this little nice thing. This is actually a potty. It's a Swedish invention, so it is, you know, like this thing, well, a can to water, but I can sit on top and it's very like stable, so I can put the kids on top here without them falling off. So we pee in here and I have water in it as well, and then I simply water the soil. And there are studies showing that one person leave enough fertilization. How should I put this in English? It's a bit tricky, but I hope we are getting there. One person will produce enough fertilization to feed the ground that produces vegetables for that kind of person for 1 year. Do you follow? So the vegetables I need for 1 year can actually be fed with with fertilization from my own urine. So what we do is actually we throw that away, and then we go to the garden store a few kilometers away to buy things, I mean products that have been produced using energy, etc., not knowing about this source. And it's a shame, I think. It's nothing complicated by using this kind of method to fertilize your garden. It's the best. And if you actually can mix that using the urine, I have had urine sterilized as long as you're healthy and not taking medicines. And that is, of course, there are studies for this as well, saying that if you don't use any like unusual medicals, then it's okay to use the urine. And that's the case for me. So I fertilize with my own urine. And I think it's a very, very good idea. A lot of people can do this, and I actually fertilize indoors as well. So I mix the urine, 1 part of urine and like 10 parts of water when I fertilize outside. And indoors I put more water in because I don't want it to smell. So that's the case. And there are studies saying that if you mix and you use your urine and also use the mulching technique, and to do the mulching technique as I do is not the same as this very popular, you know, no dig, because no dig is well, then you have to have compost heaps, very well functioning, and you have to turn them to make the most perfect soil, etc. I don't have time for that. I want to produce my soil on top of the beds, and this is why it looks like this, with layers of grass clippings, plant materials and straw, and you also see the wool. Actually, I kind of forgot what I'm going to do, so I just have to get on with it because I have this book to write. Right, we are going to, well, the thing is that if you combine urine in your garden with a mulching technique, that is the best way to feed your soil, because they will help each other to give the soil the best nutritions. If you only use the urine, the balance will be kind of wrong. But if you add the green plant materials as grass clippings, it will be perfect. All right, friends. Starting to get a bit cold, and I will put my gloves on. And I thought I want to do just a tiny little sowing, but just because it's fun, I really need to make the sowings. I want to come here and have a look to see if anything grows. And I think I have a little bit of soil here. We will make this very, very easy. You see, it's still frozen. I actually have a wireless microphone on, so I will put you over here and you can just follow me and I will talk you through this. Right? I remove now just the top layer of mulch. It's a bit tricky to get rid of the weeds. I have a product. I have seen that you've asked me in different channels about this. I will show you. Sometimes I laugh a bit about this because, when you read about how to garden and how to produce many, many vegetables at home, it's all very complicated. And I go out here, if I do this, without talking to you, it would be very easy and very quick fixed. And I could enjoy this harvest big times. Don't know if you hear me now, but this is a real thing. This is like a mini polytunnel. The thing is, I put it like this on top of the ground. Maybe I will sow 2 rows in here. And I do have a video about this product. You see? And the reason why I put it here, not over there or any other place, is that this is the most sunny spot in my whole garden. And it is sheltered by this fence and the stone wall. You see? And the magic is on top here, because this is like a hard plastic. last like forever in the garden. And on top of here you see the small holes, and also over here. So in each and every section, small holes. So the snow falls or rain falls, and the water drip through the plastic to the soil. So what I do is I put you over here and I go out in the middle of winter, and as I said, this is Sweden, not very warm right now, not that nice to be out in the garden, even though we had sun before. So, and I make 2 rows. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like this. Is that enough? Yeah. One year I sowed like 3 rows of spinach, really, really tight. I made a sowing in January. Early April, I harvested so much spinach. And you know, this one will grow very quickly. Can't say exactly, since I don't know. I have the weather report right in my phone. So these are arugula. And my seed packages look like this. And I have written like instructions here on the back for every season. You don't usually find that in the Swedish seed packages. But this is a try to make people understand the possibilities. And this is what we call a winter sowing. I simply sprinkle the seeds in this row. I fill up this whole row. It's tricky for me this year because I don't want to grow too many leaves. But it's hard not to grow because it's really good. The rocket is a favorite for me and my husband to have on our sandwiches. And this mini pak choi is also a favorite. The color crunch blend, and you know how the cabbage seeds look like? They all look the same. Very small. And what's nice with this one is that since I'm going to harvest the leaves, they are tiny, tiny, tiny when I start harvesting. So I don't have to use like a spacing. I don't have to have like 5 centimeters between each plant. I simply, how should I describe it? You know, there's a concept with the broadcast sowings. And that is basically what I do. I broadcast sow the seeds, but in a row. I might show you. Right, so here, no. Here you see my row. It's almost 10 centimeters the width. So I'm going to fill up the whole, no, half of the row. So I put a little mark here. And then I sprinkle the seeds in this row quite close to each other. Going to need some more. So I sprinkle the seeds. And you know, when you make a sowing in a row, otherwise you try to fit in the seeds in a thin row, maybe so that you can pull out a few plants, if it's like carrots or something like that. But here I use the whole space. And then we move on to spinach. And the reason why I love to grow spinach in winter is that in Sweden What happens in Sweden is that we have the winter. In spring it becomes quite warm in the days in spring, but still cold in the nights. And the light increases very quickly. And spinach is a vegetable that thrives when the days and daylight is short. So when it gets like bright all the time, it gets a bit stressed and it starts to produce flowers and also the seeds. And when they do that, they do not produce the leaves. So the leaves get very tiny. But this is Medania, and it's a variety that I have grown for so many years. And it's very good because it's not that, it does not like hurry to set the flowers. So it's very good to grow in my climate. Medania is the variety's name. And I will do exactly as the mini pak choi, to sprinkle the seeds in the row. I will show you in a better way. And as with the pak choi, the spinach is not going to produce like big leaves. They can if you space them, but in this case I want to have the very, very early harvest small leaves. So this is what it looks like right now. 1 row, 2 rows. And here you see the seeds in this row. I went out actually because I was a bit tired of sitting indoors and a bit cold too. So then after a while outdoors, you want to go indoors because it's freaking cold outside. I just covered this with a thin layer of soil, and it doesn't matter really if it's not like perfect soil. Most things will germinate well anyhow. And my trick, I use this tool. I have not still learned what it is in English, but doesn't matter. And I do this. I usually do this everywhere I sow, in my main kitchen garden, in the garden beds. And this is to make the soil to, press itself around the seeds. It's even more tricky to speak English when it's cold outside, but I know you understand me. So I put 2 sections of this. No, it's the wrong. Sorry, I have to. I know that I have the link to where you can find these sections. If anyone wants to know about that, you simply ask me in the comment sections. I don't know the word for this, but it is simply to make sure that this one will stay on the ground even when it's windy. I don't know if I can, yeah, it's possible to put it down. what I will do later on, I don't think I have material enough to do that today, is to simply put a layer of like straw or something around here to prevent that cold wind gets in. This is so smart. I have tried in my garden several products from other countries where they do not have this sorry about that, this hard winter climate with small tiny polytunnels with this soft plastic shelter, etc. I mean, they are horrible in my climate. They will just be destroyed in no time. One year we had like a orkan, very, very strong wind. And in this place where it is actually a bit sheltered too, sorry, you only see the back of me, they stayed with, no problem at all. The trick is to place them where the wind is not, catching it and just blow it away. This will do. It's really nice to just take a break and go out to do something like this. I also have a smaller version of this, but I don't think it's this good. The bigger version is better because I can fit in, as I said, 2 or 3 rows, and it's also very good because when it heats up, when it's warm outside, when it's sunny, the warm air will sort of stay in the tunnel in a better way than if the tunnel is very tiny. And it's the same as, compare a small greenhouse to a big greenhouse. The warmer temperatures will stay in a better way in a big greenhouse. And that's why I chose to increase the size of my polytunnel. It's very, very good. How are the tunnels called? Well, Niels, I don't exactly know in English. In Sweden, I have helped a company to promote those since I find them very useful. But as I said, I do have a link to, I think it's a British company. It's a bit tricky now with British companies for garden products, unfortunately, since Brexit. You can't simply order things. But I put a link in the description of this video later on, and you can go back there and see if you can find a similar product or find a retailer in your own country. I will try to fix that as soon as possible. Now let's show you. So I had the spinach, Medania, color crunch blend, a mix of different varieties of pak choi that I harvest as micro greens, and then the rocket. There's no specific variety. And actually in my book right now, I write about self-sufficiency, and one of the things I have been writing about is how should I put it, the effect or the positive things in a garden when you do like a tiny thing each day. You might think that this one is what use do I have for a sowing like this? But in the end, it comes to I fill up my garden with tiny projects each and every day, and when spring comes, it will be green things to harvest, not all of the place, but in enough places to make my family self-sufficient with the vegetables in Sweden all year round. And I think that's amazing. And if I can do that, I guess some other people would too. So this is how it looks like now. And I will get back to this, of course, and to show you. The reason now why I made the sowing here and not in a bed like over here is because it's easier for me to stay without that little space. But I might want to use the whole of this garden bed, and it would be tricky to do that if the tunnel was placed there. So this is how it looks like, and now we spot the sun. So I know nothing about how this year will continue, and but I do know after all these years I have been growing like this in Sweden, that this bed, if I then cover it with fleece or fabric to protect it from the cold temperatures and wind and snow, etc. It will give me leaves to harvest probably in April, maybe later part of April. This one in early April, and then the sowings in the Polytunnel maybe in the beginning of April as well. It's kind of similar. And then the earliest harvest in my garden will be the overwintered plants of spinach, lettuce, parsley, corn salad, leek. I also have a very early variety of leek, another variety in the Polytunnel, etc., etc. And in just 2 weeks' time or so, I am going to do a hotbed. I am not yet finished with the preparations. The idea was to put it here. I'm not quite sure I am going to make it. We'll see, it depends on the weather. Otherwise, I will just use the palette colors over here and create something amazing over there. And I have plants already in my little cottage. I have a plug tray with 150 vegetable plants. They just started to germinate and I'm very excited. And here's another place where I'm probably going to be harvesting in early spring, and this is spinach. A few other plants I have transplanted into the Polytunnel already. Well, my friends, time to go indoors, and I am filled with energy, and this is really what the gardening thing does with me. I feel a bit tired, I feel a bit, this and that. I just put on my shoes and I go out in the garden. I just make something very quickly, take a few pictures, or sometimes I actually just check my soil just underneath the compost or whatever, and I see some nice fresh dirt and I get happy. So I think I'll just go indoors, have a nice cup of tea and finish up my chapter for the next book. Thank you for keeping me company this afternoon, and have a look in a few minutes in the description to this video, and I will put the link to the mini tunnels in there so that you can have a look. See you soon again. Bye bye, friends.